The big white ship moved slowly through space. Red crosses painted on its sides caught the light from nearby stars. The ship was huge, almost 2 miles long, with medical symbols glowing bright blue along its hull. This was the human medical vessel Nightingale, and it carried hope to places where hope had died. Dr. Lisa Martinez walked down the main corridor checking her tablet. She was the chief medical officer, responsible for 200 doctors and nurses aboard the ship. Her brown hair was pulled back tight, and her green scrubs were already stained from the morning surgeries. The ship had been traveling for 3 weeks to reach this distant system. "Dr. Martinez to the bridge," came the voice over the speakers. Lisa hurried to the elevator and rode it up to the command center. Captain Jake Sullivan stood looking out at the stars. He was a big man with gray hair and kind eyes. Once he had been a soldier, fighting in wars across the galaxy. Now he spent his time saving lives instead of taking them. "What do we have, Jake?" Lisa asked, walking up beside him. "Bad news from the Kepler system," Jake said, pointing to the large screen in front of them. "Refugee convoy is asking for help. They have wounded from both sides of the war." Lisa looked at the data scrolling across the screen. 3 different alien species were fleeing the fighting between the Zephyrians and the Altarians. The convoy had been attacked twice while trying to escape to neutral space. "How many ships?" she asked. 15 vessels. Most of them are damaged. They estimate over 3,000 refugees, with at least 500 needing immediate medical care. Amy Brooks, the head nurse, came onto the bridge carrying a coffee cup. She was young, maybe 25, with blonde hair and a smile that could make patients feel better just by looking at it. Behind her walked Dr. Kevin Clark, a tall man with dark skin who specialized in alien biology. "I heard the alert," Amy said. "How long until we reach them?" 6 hours, Jake replied. "I want all medical bays ready. Kevin, do we have the supplies for this many patients?" Dr. Clark nodded. "We restocked at the last station. We can handle whatever they throw at us." Lisa felt the familiar excitement that came before a big rescue operation. This was why she became a doctor, why she left her comfortable practice on Earth to work on a medical ship. Out here, they could save lives that no one else could reach. The next few hours passed quickly. The medical staff prepared beds, organized supplies, and reviewed the medical files the convoy had transmitted. The refugees included Corvani families with their blue skin and large eyes, elderly Thessian scholars who looked like walking trees, and injured hegemony traders with their 6 arms and tough gray hides. "Captain," called the communications officer, "we are getting close to the convoy." Jake activated the main screen. Ahead of them in space, 15 ships of different sizes moved in a loose formation. Most showed damage from weapons fire. Some had holes in their hulls patched with metal plates. One ship was leaking atmosphere, leaving a thin trail of gas behind it. "This is Captain Sullivan of the human medical ship Nightingale," Jake spoke into his microphone. "We are here to help. Please identify your most critical patients." The reply came from several ships at once. Voices in different languages mixed together, all asking for help. Lisa listened as the translator worked to make sense of the chaos. "The Corvani ship Bright Hope has 37 wounded," Amy read from her screen. "The Thessian vessel Wisdom of Ages reports 12 critical patients. The hegemony freighter Stormrider has hull breaches and needs immediate evacuation." "Get our shuttles ready," Lisa ordered. "I want medical teams on the 3 worst ships within the hour." Dr. Clark was already heading for the shuttle bay. "I will take the first team to the Corvani ship. Their biology is closest to human." Lisa watched as the medical shuttles launched from the Nightingale. Each small ship carried doctors, nurses, and emergency supplies. They moved carefully between the refugee vessels, their Red Cross markings clearly visible. The first patients arrived 30 minutes later. Lisa met them in the main medical bay as stretchers floated through the airlock. A young Corvani child lay unconscious, her blue skin pale from blood loss. Next came an old Thessian whose branch-like arm had been nearly severed by weapon fire. "Operating room 2 is ready," Amy called out, helping to move the patients. Lisa worked for hours without stopping. Each patient was different, requiring her to remember alien anatomy she had studied for years. The Corvani child needed a blood transfusion using synthetic plasma. The Thessian required careful surgery to reattach his damaged limb. Throughout the ship, similar scenes played out. Human doctors and nurses worked alongside each other, saving lives without asking about politics or who was fighting whom. To them, a patient was a patient, regardless of species. Jake stayed on the bridge, coordinating the rescue operation. The Nightingale broadcast on all emergency frequencies, announcing their presence and mission. The message went out in 12 different languages, making it clear they were a medical vessel providing humanitarian aid. "Sir," the radar operator called, "I am picking up ships approaching from the outer system." Jake looked at the screen. 6 fast-moving vessels were heading their way, still too far to identify clearly. "Probably more refugees," he said. "Keep monitoring them." Lisa finished surgery on a hegemony trader whose internal organs had been damaged by shrapnel. The patient would live, though it would take weeks to fully recover. She stepped out of the HFY operating room and looked around the medical bay. Patients filled every bed. Human medical staff moved between them, checking vital signs and adjusting treatments. Despite the different species, despite the language barriers, the work continued smoothly. This was what humans did best, Lisa thought. They healed. Amy approached, with another status report. "We have brought aboard 150 patients so far. The most critical cases are stable. Dr. Clark says the Thessian ship is ready to continue on its own." "Good work," Lisa said. "How are our supplies holding up?" "We will need to resupply after this, but we have enough for now." Jake's voice came over the speakers. "All medical staff prepare for additional patients. We have 6 more ships requesting assistance." Lisa smiled tiredly. It would be a long day, but they would save every life they could. That was the human way. That was why they were here, so far from home, helping strangers in the darkness of space. She did not know that the approaching ships were not refugees. She did not know that someone was watching them, seeing their mercy as weakness. She did not know that everything was about to change. War Commander Zextel stood on the bridge of his battlecruiser, watching the human ship through the main screen. His purple skin was marked with the scars of many battles, and his 4 arms moved constantly as he studied the readings his crew provided. "Commander," his second-in-command said, "the human vessel is broadcasting medical signals on all frequencies. They claim to be helping refugees." Zextal's yellow eyes narrowed. "Lies. They are protecting our enemies. The convoy carries Altarian spies and weapons. I am sure of it." "But sir, the ship shows clear medical markings. The Galactic Code says we cannot attack medical vessels." "The Galactic Code means nothing to me," Zextal growled. "Humans are new to this part of space. They do not understand war. They hide behind their medical symbols while helping our enemies escape." The 6 Zephyrian ships moved closer to the convoy. Their weapons were charged and ready. Zextal had been hunting this group of refugees for 2 weeks, and he would not let them escape because of one human ship. On the Nightingale, Jake watched the approaching vessels with growing worry. The ships were military, not civilian. Their weapon systems were active and they were not responding to his calls. "This is Captain Sullivan of the medical vessel Nightingale," he broadcast. "We are providing humanitarian aid to refugees. Please, identify yourselves." The reply came in the harsh Zephyrian language. The translator worked for a moment before providing the words in English. "Human ship, you are protecting enemies of the Zephyrian Empire. Move away or be destroyed." Jake felt. His blood turned cold. "Repeat your message. We are a medical vessel. We have wounded patients aboard. You have 30 seconds to leave." In the medical bay, Lisa was working on a young Corvani mother who had been injured while protecting her children. Amy stood beside her, holding medical instruments. Neither of them knew what was happening on the bridge. "Dr. Martinez to the bridge immediately," came Jake's urgent voice over the speakers. Lisa looked up from her patient. "Amy, take over here. Keep pressure on that wound." She ran to the elevator and reached the bridge in less than a minute. Jake's face was pale as he pointed to the screen showing the Zephyrian ships. "They are ordering us to leave," he said. They think we are helping their enemies. But we are a medical ship, Lisa said. We have patients who will die if we move them now. I know. I am trying to explain that to them. Jake opened the communication channel again. Zephyrian vessels, we have over 100 critical patients aboard. Moving them now will kill them. We are not part of your war. We are only here to save lives. Jextal listened to the human's words with contempt. They think we are fools, he told his crew. Prepare all weapons. Target the human ship first, then the convoy. Sir, are you certain? If they truly are medical personnel. There are no innocent humans, Jextal said. Fire. The first laser blast hit the Nightingale's port side, cutting through the hull like paper. The ship shook violently, throwing everyone off their feet. Emergency alarms began screaming throughout the vessel. Hull breach on deck 7, someone shouted. Medical Bay 3 is gone. Lisa felt her heart stop. Medical Bay 3 was where they had put the children. 20 young patients from 3 different species had been recovering there. Now it was open to space. Get everyone to emergency stations, Jake ordered. Seal the damaged sections. But the attack was not over. The Zephyrian ships fired again and again, their weapons tearing into the white hull of the medical vessel. The red crosses painted on the sides were burned away by laser fire. Amy was in Medical Bay 2 when the second blast hit. She was holding a small Thessian child, trying to calm him as his parents had been killed in the original attack. The explosion threw her against the wall, but she kept her grip on the boy, protecting him with her own body. Everyone out. She yelled to the other nurses, "Get the patients to the emergency shelters." But there was no time. The third blast opened the bay to space. Amy felt the air rushing out around her. She looked down at the frightened child in her arms and smiled. "It will be okay," she whispered, even as the cold of space began to take them both. Dr. Clark was in surgery when the ship shook again. His patient, a hegemony trader, was dying from internal injuries. The lights went out and emergency power kicked in with a red glow. "Keep working," he told his team. "This patient needs us." The fourth blast hit the surgical wing. Clark felt something tear into his shoulder, but he kept his hand steady as he tried to save the alien's life. Around him, his team worked by emergency lighting, refusing to give up even as their ship died around them. Lisa made it back to the main medical bay just as the fifth blast hit. She found chaos everywhere. Patients were screaming in pain and fear. Some were already dead, killed by falling debris. Others were calling for help in languages she barely understood. "Where is Amy?" she asked one of the surviving nurses. "Medical Bay 2, the nurse said, tears running down her face. "It is gone, doctor. Bay 2 is gone." Lisa felt something break inside her chest. Amy Brooks, the young woman who could make anyone smile, who had devoted her life to helping others, was dead. Killed while protecting alien children she had never met before today. Jake's voice came over the failing communication system. "All hands prepare for boarding. The enemy ships are approaching." Through the broken hull, Lisa could see the dark shapes of Zephyrian fighters moving toward them. Soon soldiers would come aboard to finish what their weapons had started. She looked around at the surviving patients and staff. Many were wounded now, bleeding from the attack. An old Thessian was trying to help a injured Corvani despite his own broken arm. A human nurse was sharing her medical supplies with a hegemony doctor who had lost everything. This was what the Zephyrians had attacked. Not soldiers or weapons, but healers and patients. Not a military target, but a hospital ship full of people who wanted only to help others. Lisa picked up her medical scanner and began recording. If she was going to die, she would make sure someone knew what had happened here. Someone would know that the Zephyrians had murdered medical personnel and patients. "This is Dr. Lisa Martinez of the medical vessel Nightingale," she spoke into the device. "We have been attacked without warning while providing aid to refugees. Our medical bays have been destroyed. Amy Brooks and at least 50 others are dead. We are not soldiers. We are doctors and nurses. Remember us." She sent the message on all frequencies, hoping it would reach human space before the Zephyrians could stop it. Outside, the enemy boarding craft attached to the broken hull of the Nightingale, ready to finish their terrible work. The message from Dr. Lisa Martinez traveled through space at the speed of light. It passed through communication relays, jumped across hyperspace channels, and reached human colonies scattered across the galaxy. The first place it arrived was New Geneva, the closest human medical station. Admiral Patricia Kane was drinking her morning coffee when the alert came through. She was the commander of the Terran Medical Corps, responsible for all human medical ships operating in deep space. She had gray hair and wore the white uniform of the medical service. "Admiral," her aide said, rushing into her office, "we have received an emergency transmission from the Nightingale." Patricia set down her coffee cup and activated her screen. The face of Dr. Martinez appeared, covered in blood and debris. Behind her, Patricia could see the destroyed medical bay, the dead patients, the chaos of an attack. "This is Dr. Lisa Martinez of the medical vessel Nightingale. We have been attacked without warning while providing aid to refugees. Our medical bays have been destroyed. Amy Brooks and at least 50 others are dead. We are not soldiers. We, our doctors and nurses, remember us." The message played again and again. Patricia watched it 5 times before she fully understood what she was seeing. Someone had attacked a human medical ship. Someone had murdered doctors and nurses while they were treating patients. "Get me Fleet Command," she said, her voice shaking with anger. "Now." Within an hour, the recording was playing in military headquarters, across human space. Admirals and generals watched in silence as the young nurse Amy Brooks died protecting alien children. They saw the broken bodies of patients killed in their hospital beds. They heard the fear in Dr. Martinez's voice as she recorded her final message. On Earth, the news networks picked up the story. The footage was broadcast into homes across the planet. Families eating breakfast stopped to watch. Children asked their parents why someone would attack a hospital ship. Adults who had never cared about military matters began calling their representatives. Dr. Richard Stone was the chief medical officer at New Geneva. He had trained Amy Brooks when she was fresh out of nursing school. He remembered her bright smile and her determination to help others. When the news reporters asked him to comment on the attack, he broke down crying on live television. "Amy was 25 years old," he said through his tears. "She became a nurse because she wanted to save lives. She died protecting children she had never met before. What kind of monsters attack medical personnel?" The image of Dr. Stone crying spread across human space faster than any news story in history. Within 12 hours, every human alive had seen the footage from the Nightingale. They had seen Amy Brooks die. They had seen patients murdered in their beds. On the colony world of New Boston, factory workers stopped their machines to watch the news. Farmers on rural planets gathered around their radios. Even the tough miners on the asteroid stations were crying as they listened to the reports. "This is wrong," people said. "This cannot happen to our doctors and nurses." Fleet Admiral Helen Carter was known as a careful leader. She had spent 40 years in the military, fighting only when necessary and always trying to find peaceful solutions. She was a small woman with silver hair and calm blue eyes. When angry crowds gathered outside military headquarters demanding action, she met with the Human Defense Council. The council chamber was filled with representatives from every human world. Usually these meetings took days as politicians argued about spending and territory. This time the vote took 10 minutes. "All in favor of declaring war on the Zephyrian Empire?" Admiral Carter asked. Every hand went up. Not one person voted against it. But this would not be a normal war. Admiral Carter had an idea that would change everything. "We will not fight like other species," she told the council. "We will not forget who we are. Every medical ship will be protected by a battle group. Every hospital vessel will have destroyer escorts. The message will be clear." A young representative from Mars raised her hand. "What message, Admiral?" "Attack our healers and face our warriors." The order went out across human space that same day. Every medical ship would continue its mission, but now each one would travel with military protection. The galaxy would see that humans took care of their own. Captain Bill Watson commanded the destroyer Vigilant. He received his new orders while patrolling the outer colonies. Proceed immediately to escort duty for medical vessels. The message read, Priority 1 mission. Bill had served in the military for 15 years. He had fought pirates and raiders. But this felt different. This felt personal. He had watched the footage from the Nightingale. He had seen Amy Brooks die. Set course for the nearest medical ship, he told his crew. And make sure our weapons are ready. Similar scenes played out across the galaxy. Battleships changed course to protect hospital ships. Entire fleets reorganized to provide medical escorts. The humans were making a statement that everyone could understand. On the research station Deep Space Nine, scientists stopped their work to watch the news. Dr. Nancy Turner had known several of the medical staff killed on the Nightingale. She had trained with them, worked with them, shared meals with them. They were good people, she told her team. They only wanted to help others. The attack on the Nightingale became more than just news. It became a symbol. Human children drew pictures of Amy Brooks holding alien babies. Artists created memorials showing the destroyed medical ship. Musicians wrote songs about the nurses and doctors who died trying to save lives. But it was not just humans who were angry. Across the galaxy, other species watched the footage with horror. The Corvani government issued a statement condemning the attack. The Thessians, normally peaceful, called for justice. Even some Altarian leaders spoke out against their Zephyrian enemies. Medical personnel must be protected, the Galactic Health Organization declared. This attack violates every principle of civilized warfare. The Zephyrian Empire found itself alone. Trade agreements were canceled, diplomatic relations were cut. Other species that had been neutral in the war began supporting the Altarians. War Commander Jextal, who had ordered the attack, was promoted to hero status by his government. They gave him medals and called him a great warrior. But quietly, some Zephyrian leaders were worried. They had never fought humans before. They did not know what to expect. Admiral Carter was already planning the response. In her office, she studied star charts and fleet positions. The attack on the Nightingale would not go unpunished. But the punishment would be something the galaxy had never seen before. Gather the fleet, she told her staff. Every available ship. We are going to make sure this never happens again. The message was simple, but it would echo across the galaxy for generations to come. Attack our healers, and face the consequences. The humans were coming, and they would not forget what the Zephyrians had done. In the depths of space, the broken hull of the Nightingale drifted silent and cold. But its final message had started something that would change everything. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when you attacked a human medical ship. 6 months after the attack on the Nightingale, a massive fleet appeared at the edge of Zephyrian space. It was the largest collection of human ships ever assembled. At the center was the new medical vessel Hippocrates, 3 times bigger than the destroyed Nightingale. Beside it sailed the dreadnought Retribution, its dark hull bristling with weapons. Admiral Patricia Kane stood on the bridge of the Hippocrates, wearing her crisp white medical uniform. Through the main window she could see dozens of ships stretching, out in all directions. Hospital ships, supply vessels, and rescue craft formed the center of the fleet. Around them, like protective wolves, sailed destroyers, cruisers, and battleships. Admiral Carter sends her greetings. The communications officer reported. The military fleet is ready for your orders. Patricia nodded. Helen Carter commanded. The warships from the Retribution. The 2 women had planned this mission together, combining medical and military forces in a way that had never been tried before. On the other side of the system, War Commander Jextal watched the human fleet. With growing concern, he had been promoted to defend the Zephyrian homeworld after his successful attack on the medical ship. His purple skin was now marked with golden tattoos showing his new rank. How many ships? He asked his aide. Over 200, Commander. But many are medical vessels. They are not warships. Jextal studied the sensor readings. The humans had brought hospital ships to a battle. It made no sense to him. They are weak, he decided. They cannot separate healing from fighting. This will make them easy to defeat. But Jextal did not understand humans. He did not know that they had spent 6 months studying Zephyrian technology and tactics. He did not know that several alien governments had secretly provided intelligence about Zephyrian weaknesses. Most importantly, he did not know that humans could be both healers and warriors at the same time. The human fleet moved slowly into the system, broadcasting on all frequencies. Admiral Carter's voice reached every ship, every planet, every listening post in Zephyrian space. This is Fleet Admiral Helen Carter of the Terran Navy. 6 months ago, your forces attacked the medical vessel Nightingale. You murdered doctors and nurses who were providing aid to refugees. You killed patients in their hospital beds. You attacked healers who were protected by galactic law. The message continued in a dozen different languages, making sure everyone understood. We are here to ensure this never happens again. Surrender your military forces and no harm will come to your civilians. Continue to fight and face the consequences. Jextal's reply was broadcast across the system. Human weaklings, you bring medical ships to a battle. We are not afraid of your doctors and nurses. Leave now or be destroyed like your precious Nightingale. The silence that followed lasted 30 seconds. Then Admiral Carter spoke again, her voice cold as space itself. You attacked our healers. You murdered patients under medical care. You killed refugees seeking aid. This is what happens when you attack a human medical ship. The battle began immediately. But it was unlike any battle the galaxy had ever seen. The human warships moved with deadly precision, targeting Zephyrian military installations while carefully avoiding civilian areas. Each target had been selected months in advance. Weapons factories, military bases, and warship construction yards were destroyed with surgical accuracy. But the most shocking thing was what happened next. As soon as each Zephyrian position was neutralized, human medical ships moved in. Doctors and nurses beamed down to provide aid to wounded Zephyrian soldiers. The same people who had just been fired upon were now being treated by human medical teams. Dr. Jennifer Walsh was among the first medical personnel to land on the surface. She set up a field hospital outside a destroyed Zephyrian base and immediately began treating the wounded. Her patients included the same soldiers who had been trying to kill her moments before. "Why are you helping us?" asked a young Zephyrian soldier as Jennifer bandaged his injured arm. "Because you are hurt," she replied simply. "That is what we do." The psychological effect on the Zephyrian forces was devastating. They had been taught that humans were weak enemies who would crumble under attack. Instead, they found warriors who fought with terrible efficiency but showed mercy to the defeated. War Commander Jextal watched his defenses crumble from his command ship. Every military installation in the system was being systematically destroyed. But the humans were not targeting civilians, and they were actually helping wounded Zephyrian soldiers. "This is not how war is supposed to work," he told his aide. "Sir, perhaps we should surrender. Our forces are being defeated." "Never," Jextal snarled. "Prepare my personal fighter. If I am to die, I will die fighting." But the humans had other plans. As Jextal launched his fighter, he found himself surrounded by human ships. They did not fire on him. Instead, they used tractor beams to capture his vessel intact. Within an hour, Jextal found himself in the medical bay of the Hippocrates. His injuries from the capture were being treated by Dr. Lucy Harrison, a young woman with brown hair and gentle hands. "You killed our people," he said as she cleaned a cut on his forehead. "Yes," Lucy replied, not stopping her work. "And now I am healing yours. That is the difference between us." Jextal stared at her in confusion. "I do not understand humans." "We heal," Lucy said simply. "It is what we do. When you attacked our medical ship, you attacked the very thing that makes us who we are. But even now, even after everything you have done, we will not let you die from treatable injuries." Around the Zephyrian homeworld, the battle was ending. Every military target had been neutralized. The Zephyrian fleet was destroyed or captured, but not a single civilian had been harmed. Human medical teams were already working in Zephyrian hospitals, helping treat the wounded from both sides. Admiral Carter's final message was broadcast across the system. "The Zephyrian military has been defeated. Your government will surrender unconditionally. But we are not conquerors. We are healers who were forced to become warriors. Zephyrian civilians will be protected and cared for. Medical aid is being provided to all who need it. In the medical bay, Jextal listened to the announcement with growing understanding. He had attacked healers and they had responded by becoming the most efficient warriors he had ever seen. But even in victory, they remained healers first. Why? He asked Dr. Harrison. Why do you help your enemies? Lucy finished bandaging his wounds and looked him in the eyes. Because that is what separates us from you. You see enemies everywhere. We see patients who need help. The battle for the Zephyrian system was over. But the real victory was not military. It was moral. The humans had shown the galaxy that they could be both compassionate healers and terrible warriors. They had proven that attacking medical personnel would bring swift and overwhelming retribution. But most importantly, they had shown that even in war, even in victory, they would not abandon their principles. They would heal friend and enemy, alike because that was who they were. The galaxy was taking notes and the lesson was clear. Never attack a human medical ship. 3 weeks after the battle, War Commander Zextal sat in a wheelchair in the main medical bay of the Hippocrates. His legs had been crushed when his fighter was captured, but human doctors had saved them. Dr. Lucy Harrison checked his progress every day, making sure he could walk again. The bones are healing well, she told him, examining his x-rays. You should be able to stand next week. Jextal looked at the human doctor with confusion that had not left him since his capture. Why do you care if I can walk? I am your enemy. Lucy sat down beside his wheelchair. You were our enemy. Now you are our patient. When someone is hurt, we help them. It does not matter who they are or what they have done. Around them, the medical bay was full of patients from both sides of the war. Human soldiers who had been wounded in the battle lay next to Zephyrian fighters. Alien doctors worked alongside human nurses. The scene would have been impossible to imagine just months before. Dr. Jennifer Walsh approached with a tablet in her hands. She had been working with Zephyrian medical personnel to establish new treatment protocols for mixed casualties. Commander? Jextal, she said, we need to discuss something important with you. What now? He asked, expecting another lecture about human medicine. Representatives from 47 different species are arriving tomorrow. They want to create new laws about medical vessels and personnel. They want you to be part of the discussion. Jextal stared at her. Me? I am a war criminal. I attacked your medical ship. Yes, Jennifer said simply. That is exactly why we need you there. You understand better than anyone what happens when medical neutrality is broken. The next day, the largest diplomatic gathering in galactic history took place aboard the Hippocrates. Representatives from dozens of species filled the main conference room. At the head table sat Admiral Patricia Kane, still wearing her white medical uniform. We are here, she began, to make sure that what happened to the Nightingale never happens again. The Corvani ambassador spoke first. The human medical ship was helping our people when it was attacked. Our children died because someone chose to target healers. The Thessian representative stood next. Medical personnel must be protected. This is not just human law or Zephyrian law. This must be universal law. One by one, species after species, spoke about the need to protect medical vessels. Even former enemies of humanity supported the proposal. The attack on the Nightingale had shocked the entire galaxy. When it was his turn to speak, Jextal struggled to stand from his wheelchair. Dr. Harrison moved to help him, but he waved her away. He needed to do this himself. I ordered the attack on the human medical ship, he said, his voice carrying across the silent room. I saw their healing as weakness. I thought they were hiding behind medical symbols to protect enemies. He paused, looking around at the faces watching him. I was wrong. The humans showed me what real strength looks like. They could have killed me easily. Instead, they saved my legs. They could have let my soldiers die. Instead, they treated our wounded. They are stronger than any warrior I have ever known, because they choose to heal instead of harm. Jextal turned toward Admiral Kane. I ask for your forgiveness not because I deserve it, but because the galaxy needs to see that even enemies can learn to do better. The room was completely silent. Then Admiral Kane stood and walked over to Jextal. She extended her hand. "The Nightingale Doctrine will be named after our lost ship," she said as they shook hands. "But you will help us write it. Your experience will make sure others understand the consequences of attacking medical personnel." The agreement was signed that day by every species present. Medical vessels and personnel would be completely protected during any conflict. Any attack on clearly marked medical assets would be considered an attack on all signatory species. The punishment would be swift and overwhelming. But the real power of the doctrine was not in its words. It was in the memory of what had happened. Every species in the galaxy had seen the human response to the attack on the Nightingale. They had seen terrible retribution, followed by incredible mercy. 2 years later, a memorial was built at the coordinates where the Nightingale had been destroyed. It was a simple structure made of white stone, with names carved in dozens of languages. At the center was a statue of Amy Brooks holding an alien child, just as she had died doing. The memorial was tended by both human and Zephyrian medical personnel. Jextal himself had volunteered for the duty after his recovery. He spent his days maintaining the garden around the monument and telling visitors about the importance of protecting healers. "She was 25, he would say, pointing to Amy's statue. "She died protecting children she had never met. I ordered her death, and now I spend my life honoring her memory." Ships from every species would stop at the memorial when passing through the system. Captains would bring their crews to see the monument and hear the story. The lesson was always the same. Medical personnel must be protected at all costs. Captain Jake Sullivan had survived the attack on the Nightingale, though he carried scars from that terrible day. Now he commanded a new medical ship, the Amy Brooks, named after the nurse who had died saving alien children. The ship was twice the size of the original Nightingale and carried the most advanced medical equipment in the galaxy. But more importantly, it was never alone. A full battle group escorted the Amy Brooks wherever it went. The message was clear to everyone who saw it. Attack this medical ship and face the consequences. Dr. Lisa Martinez had also survived and now served as the chief medical officer aboard the Amy Brooks. She had been there when the first patients were brought aboard from a refugee convoy near the Altarian border. As she watched her team work to save lives, she thought about her friends who had died on the Nightingale. They would be proud, she whispered to herself. The final test of the Nightingale Doctrine came 3 years after it was signed. A pirate fleet attacked a hegemony medical convoy, not knowing that human observers were monitoring the situation. Within 6 hours, ships from 12 different species had arrived to hunt down the pirates. The attack was stopped, the pirates were captured, and the medical convoy continued its mission. The galaxy had learned the lesson. Medical personnel were sacred, healers were protected, and anyone who forgot this rule would face not just human retribution, but the anger of every civilized species in the galaxy. In the darkness of space, the Amy Brooks continued its journey, bringing hope to distant worlds. Behind it, the memorial to the Nightingale glowed with soft light, reminding all who passed that some lines must never be crossed. The saying spread to every corner of the galaxy, spoken in 100 languages, but always meaning the same thing. Never fire on a ship with a red cross. The humans remember everything, and they always would.